Hello, everyone. Welcome to our BookTrib After Dark chat with New York Times and #1 international bestselling author Lara Adrian. Her latest release, Tempted by Midnight, is a novella from the 1001 Dark Nights collection of paranormal and erotic romances. Laura, people want to know a little bit about you and your novella, so can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I actually got my start writing historical romances, but in 2007, I debuted my Midnight Breed vampire romance series, and I've been pretty much writing that ever since. And Tempted by Midnight is part of that series, and it features Lazaro Archer, who actually appeared in the series a few books back. He was really only going to be a secondary character, and when he appeared, he suffered this really terrible loss. Of the big villain of the series basically destroyed his family, destroyed his house, killed his mate. I mean, the only people left were him and a grandson that was with him at the time. So he is, very emotionally closed off. He's, a big badass warrior now. It's 20 years later. He's now thrown himself into his work with the Order, and now instead of just being, a Dark Haven leader and a family man, now he's the leader of this group of warriors in Rome. And so it's been 20 years since he lost his family, and he's arranged this meeting between an old friend of his who's a breed male and also a human politician. And it's a very important meeting. Nothing can go wrong. It's critical. And lo and behold, when he goes to introduce the two, the friend has brought a young woman with him, and it turns out that it's a woman that Lazaro knew back in his past when she was just a little girl, and he saved her life. So you've got this guy who doesn't want to be responsible for anybody, doesn't want to be attached to anybody, and then all of a sudden he's thrust together with this young woman, and they're basically running for their lives and he's trying to keep her safe from some bad guys. So that's basically it in a nutshell.
Sounds awesome. Before we begin our questions, I wanted to let our viewers know that you can enter to win a gift bag full of Lara's favorite things. So stop by booktrib.com after the chat and win all that lovely stuff. And there's going to be some Breedmate mark pendants, Midnight Breed logo stainless tumbler, a Midnight Breed mouse pad. So a lot of really awesome stuff in there. And so the questions are rolling in, and we have over 40, which is wonderful. So Brittany has a really interesting question here. She said, if you could be a breed warrior, which would you pick, and do you have a favorite book from that series?
If I could be a breed warrior, one of the guys,
Yes.
I guess I'd probably be Lucan. He calls all the shots, and he's probably the biggest badass of the whole group. So, and as far as picking a favorite book, people ask me this all the time, and I really don't have a favorite because it's kind of like I love and hate them equally, because there's things that each book, it's special to me for certain reasons, and then it's a struggle to me for other reasons. So I don't really feel like I'm attached to any one book in particular. If I had to choose, I would probably say the most significant book to me was Kiss of Midnight, which is Lucan's story, because that was the first of the series. So that started this whole thing, and now here I am, 12 books later and a bunch of novellas and on my way to 18 books before it's all done. So
Wow. Wow. That's incredible. Patty wants to know, backing up a little bit, she said, can you talk a little bit about the breed and what they are, in case some people don't
sure.
know?
Yep. Well, The Breed is basically my twist on vampires. I've always been fascinated with vampires, and as I said, I started my career writing historical romances, and in about, I guess it was around the summer of 2005, my publisher basically told me there's no market for the historical romances anymore, but we don't want to lose you, so have you ever thought about writing a contemporary paranormal? And I said, I've been dying to. I had been actually putting some paranormal in my historicals, trying to kind of put my toe in that, other thing, because I just love paranormal romances. And so I immediately knew I wanted to write a vampire story. I basically grew up reading Stephen King and Rice, and I mean, it was just like, it was my monster of choice. And this is before Twilight came out, so nobody really knew, was the whole vampire market already dead? There were only a couple of authors who had done it, and they pretty much, owned the marketplace. but I really wanted to do it. But I didn't want to do vampires who were the undead. I just kind of thought the whole, the dead body thing just kind of bothered me. So I really wanted to have more of like a science fiction twist to it, something that would make it seem a little bit more realistic and also give me a chance to kind of put my own brand on it. So basically, the breed is actually a mix between an alien race that's very vampiric, they crash landed on Earth, and
Wow.
humans. So there's a blending of the
Hmm.
two, and it created the breed. So you've got these beings who are actually extraterrestrials who can't be in sunlight, who can, who live on blood. So
Hmm.
it's vampiric traits, but yet it's a different kind of creature.
Great. Very interesting. So Patty has a great question. She says, "What has been the reader response to your series, and do the fans write to you on social media? Is there a lot of, interaction there?"
It has been incredible. When I first started this, I mean, I was coming off of a very mid-list, even lower tier, not even mid-list career. So if I got 5 letters from fans when a book came out, I was over the moon. I thought that was
Yeah.
incredible. And then when Kiss of Midnight came out, actually there were 3 books in the series that came out in 2007. My publisher put them out really rapidly. And the momentum, it just took off. And all of a sudden I was getting, 10, 20, 40, 100 letters, and it was just crazy, and it's just gone from there. And now, I interact with my fans on Facebook and Twitter and Goodreads, and I hear from them on my website. It's just been amazing.
Awesome. How did you get involved with the 1000 a Night Dark Knight series?
Actually, a few years ago, my publisher forwarded a fan letter that they had received through different channels, and it came through, and it was the wife of Steve Barry, which that in itself was like, are you kidding me? And so
Wow.
I ended up emailing Liz back, and I thanked her for the kind words, and we just struck up a friendship, and we kind of kept in touch over the years. She would, email me after I had a book out, and we just kind of got talking. And then last year, I think it was the year before, she pushed me at RT, one of the big reader conventions, and asked if I would be interested in
Yeah.
being part of this. And it was like, yes, absolutely. I just thought the
Yeah.
idea was brilliant, and it's a great way for me to meet other writers and kind of basically kind of expand my world and also help other writers as well kind of expand theirs too. Kind of share our reader bases is the idea
Hmm.
behind it.
Awesome. We're glad that you did and that you're here
Me
today.
too.
Absolutely. Brenda has a question. She says, "How much has changed since the first novel you wrote to the one that you're currently working on?" And she says, "Which can you give us a sneak peek of what's next, by the way?"
I have not officially announced what's next, but I will tonight.
Oh, all
Yeah.
right.
The series has changed in a lot of ways, but yet I'm trying to keep all of the things that I loved about it in the beginning and the things that the readers really responded to as well. I didn't want it to grow stagnant, and I think that's a risk that always, you take when you have a really long-running series. And I never wanted to feel like I was telling the same story over and over. I mean, granted, it's a romance; it's going to end happily. There's going to be conflict. There's going to be a black moment. But I really wanted the world and the characters and the storylines to just, to be exciting and different, because I know I get bored when I read a long-running series. I usually don't make it through more than half a dozen books before I'm going, all right, next. And I just didn't want that to
Right.
happen for myself as well, because I needed to keep myself entertained while I was writing this too. So in the very first book, and then actually in the first 10 books, the breed is not known to humans. They're living in secret. Nobody knows
Oh,
about them. So in the 10th book, there's a huge turning point, and all of a sudden they are now exposed to the humans in a very bad way. So now there's been, wars and lots of conflicts in the 20 years that have passed since then. And the 11th book was actually the start of what I call the next generation, which was basically
mhm.
still keeping my original cast of characters because they're immortal, but then also their offspring. So now I've got a whole new
Yeah.
group of people. I've got a new world dynamic in the series to play with. So I just feel like, the field is wide open as far as what I can do. I'm a plotter,
Yeah.
so I definitely know where it's heading. But yeah, I guess it's changed a lot, but yet I feel like it's still pretty much the same, what I started with.
Yeah. Kind of going off of that, how do you decide that your characters will have their own book? How do you know that it's time to kind of debut a certain character as the front and center, main
Sometimes I
person?
know. Sometimes I know, like for the next generation group, that's a little bit easier because I know the characters who've had offspring, and I know the ones that I want to develop into, a bigger role in the series, and I know where the plot is going. In the beginning, it was a
Hmm.
little looser because I was actually only contracted for 3 books, so I really thought my series was a trilogy. And around the middle of the second book, my publisher came back to me and said, "It's going so well, how about another 3?" And I was like, my plot ends at 3. I don't know what to do for an encore. So at least I was able to
Wow.
step back and go, all right, I need a bigger bag. So I was able to plan for that. But there were a lot of characters that walked on, and I had no idea that I was going to write a book for them. In fact, Sterling Chase, who ended up being one of the biggest characters in the series, was going to be just a walk-on role in book 2. But as soon as he walked onto the page, I was like, oh, I have to write a story for him, and I saved him for last because I knew I wanted to take him into the darkest depths and then bring him back. So, and also Lazaro Archer, I had really no idea I'd be writing a book for him either. He was just supposed to be a secondary character. But I had so many
Yeah.
emails from readers going, "You can't just leave him this way. He lost everything." And I thought, well, I probably shouldn't leave him that way. So then when Liz said, "What have you got?" I said, actually, so sometimes
Awesome.
it's just serendipity. Other times it's more of a plan.
And sometimes your fans are kind of like egging you on, like, come on. That's always
Definitely, yeah.
awesome. Yeah. Do you prefer writing action sequences or more like sensual sequences? Do you prefer one over the other?
It kind of depends on my mood. Sometimes I'm writing sex scenes and I think I have the weirdest job in the world because, it's like you have to come up with like different scenarios, different positions. You don't want to, make it boring. You don't want to make it a repeat of
Exactly.
what you've already done. So that is a little interesting. But I kind of like them both. I kind of think of them kind of in the same way because it's heightened emotion, it's heightened, intensity. It's just a different scenario, I guess. But I guess I don't really have a
Yeah.
favorite too.
Hmm. One balances out the other, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Um, Annabelle says, when writing a series, do you plan out the entire series or do you write from book to book and hope it all comes together?
If I had to write from book to book, I think I would be insane. I can't do it. I know some
Yeah.
writers who do, and I admire them because the whole jumping into the mist and just trusting that a net will appear, that is not the way I operate. So I
Yeah.
like to have it planned out. But that said, there are some things you have to kind of leave open, in case there is some serendipity or in case there is something where you kind of go, I thought I was going to take it this way, but it's going to be more exciting or it's going to be, better for the characters if I went this way. And you kind of have to trust your instinct, I guess. But I definitely, before I write a book, I sit down and I plot the whole thing out with a very kind of loosey-goose framework, but I know where it's starting, where I want it to be in the middle, and where I want it to end up. And in the middle, in between all that, things can happen, and I leave room for little twists and things that maybe I didn't see when I was plotting it. But
Yeah.
overall, I'm definitely a plotter, and especially with a big series like this, I've never undertaken anything this big. So I
Yeah.
think I would be, I would lose my mind if I didn't feel at least that I had some control over where it was going.
Right. Absolutely. Um, Now, in terms of character names, Brenda says, how do you come up with the names for your characters? And do you draw from people you know or the internet? Do you use anagrams?
Um, hmm. I don't really draw from people that I know, but I do use the internet. Obviously, I use baby name books and things like that. And I definitely
Ah, that's a
want
good
all of
idea.
my male characters' names to be strong names, something that, is going to sound good in the middle of a passionate scene. You just don't want,
Right.
I don't know, give it to me, Sheldon, whatever. But it has to be like a good, strong name, and it has to be pronounceable to me because I hate that when I'm reading and I have to stop and go, I wonder how they're supposed to pronounce that. So I like them to
Yeah.
be interesting and, evoke a certain emotion when you see it, but I don't want somebody to stumble over the name either.
Right. Reagan wants to know, is Melina Walsh anything like you personality-wise?
Hmm. Well, I don't see anybody's auras. No. You know what? I think all of my characters, there's a little bit of me. I think there has to be when you're a writer because you have to be able to relate to somebody and you have to kind of put yourself in their shoes. So I think she's no more like me than any of the other characters, including the villains. I mean, you have to be able to relate to all of the characters in some way. So yeah, I think, and for my heroines, they're probably all kind of an idealized version, of a woman. And the same with the heroes too. I mean, I'm not trying to say that great alpha guys don't exist, but I mean, in romance especially, we're idealizing both characters a little bit.
Exactly. Hmm. Absolutely. Christina says, if you could collaborate with another author in the 1001 Dark Knight series, who would it be, and what kind of book do you think you two would write?
Wow. I think collaboration on the same story would be tough for me because
Mm-hmm.
for me, writing is just really personal, and it would be really tough for me to have somebody in my stuff. I can write with
Yeah.
people where I'm writing my own story and they're writing another one, and maybe we share characters. That's fine. I'm actually doing that with my friend Tina Folsom. We've got a new series that we're starting
Oh,
next month, and it's going to be a series of duologies where it's a two-in-one book. I write one, she writes one. The
fun.
characters will overlap, and the plot is continuing, but we're not writing each other's, books. So I
Right.
don't think I could do it that way. That's a little bit too close. I know a lot of writers who do, but no, I think I'm too much of a control freak for that.
Yeah. It's understandable, absolutely. Kate says, if you could have a superpower, what would it be?
Oh, wow. Oh, there's so many to choose from. Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
It would be nice to turn back time. Would definitely be nice to be able to do that. But
Yeah.
it would also be nice. One of the breed mates in my series has a really cool talent, I think, because I love history. She's got psychometry. She can touch an object and feel its past, and that would be really cool
Ah,
too. Just because I'm really interested in where things came from and what people were doing, and all of that.
right. Hence the historical, past as a historical fiction
Yeah,
writer, right?
yeah,
Absolutely. Um, Caroline says, will we get to read more about Eric and Karis Chase? Please say yes.
yes, absolutely, absolutely. Yep, there is a book for each of them. They're brother and sister. They're fraternal twins, in case you're wondering, Amanda. But yes, two separate
Yeah,
books, one for each of them.
cool. Um, Kate has a great
Oh,
question. She says, can you give us three random facts that your readers might not know about you?
oh my gosh. Um,
That one always
wow.
stumps people.
Yeah, I'm blind as a bat. I wear contacts, and if I don't, I can't see anything. I
Me
was a
too.
majorette all 4 years. I think it's the readers, right? We kill our eyes. I was a majorette all 4 years in high school, and I played terrible clarinet. I don't play it anymore. I did in school. I was the second to the last chair.
I like those answers. Perfect. Reagan wants to know what makes Tempted by Midnight different than any of the other novels you've written.
Well, it's got a Gen 1 who already had a mate for many centuries and loved her dearly. It's set in Rome, which we haven't done before. I haven't been to that part of the Order's new world, so that was different, and that was fun because I've actually been to Italy on book tour, so I was able to bring in some of the things that I saw while I was there. And it
Great.
also introduces some new characters that we're going to see again. In fact, my 2015 book for the 1001 Dark Nights collection features a character that you meet in Tempted by Midnight. Oh,
Oh,
and
great.
Tempted by Midnight also has a story thread that's going to pick up in book 13. There was also a little thread in Marked by Midnight, my previous novella, and those two books are leading up to something in book 13.
Oh boy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm learning so much tonight. And we have a great, I can see like conversations going on in the corner of the screen with lots of excited fans. It's so
Hi,
so
guys.
nice. Uh, so we have another question here. Kimberly wants to know which breed is getting the next novel.
That like I said, I have not officially announced, but I will. Book 13 is probably going to come out next summer. I have some contractual restrictions. I can't put it out until a certain period of time next year. But it will
Right.
feature Karis Chase and Rune, her cage-fighting breed vampire boyfriend.
Oh,
Obviously, things
excellent.
will not go well because it wouldn't be a book by me if things went smoothly. So there will be some problems to come. But yeah, I've got a title and everything too. So they
Nice.
haven't announced that
So
yet.
talking about cool. Talking about releases and upcoming stuff. So you do book trailers, and Patty wants to know, do you have any creative input when it comes to the trailers?
I did a couple of book trailers in the very beginning. I haven't done any in a really long time. My publisher did a few for me toward, I think they did one for Darker After Midnight and they did one for Edge of Dawn. I don't think they did one for Crave the Night. So I haven't really done one in a really long time. But to tell you the truth, I think the ones that the fans do are the best. There was this
Mm-hmm.
girl from Germany who put together this amazing trailer it looked like a movie, and I swear it felt like she was in my head downloading the images that I saw while I was writing this book, and it
Wow.
was all little clips from movies, and it was just perfect. In fact, well, I had it on my old website. I don't think it's over on my new website. I didn't bring over any of the trailers, so. But yeah, but that was awesome. And as far as input on that one, I had zero input. It was just, to me, a phenomenal
Wow.
interpretation of my series. Yeah.
That's incredible. That must be awesome to see that coming through someone else's eyes.
Oh, definitely.
The history buff has a question. What is one item that you always need when you start to write?
Computer, definitely. And I suppose in some ways a spiral notepad, but I do most of my composition and most of my plotting on the computer. I might jot down notes here and there, but I can't write longhand. I have to type because
Mhm.
I find that, especially as I'm getting older and as my vision's getting worse, I type almost as fast as I think. But handwriting, it would
Yes.
take me 10 times as long. I'd be just worried over, oh, I can't even read that now. And then I'd have to scribble it out and I'd lose my train of thought. So, computer.
Absolutely. Yeah. Do you have any rituals that you do? Writing rituals? Any music you listen to, or not really?
No, I don't listen to music when I write. I usually when I'm plotting a book or trying to come up with like the essence of a character or the essence of a certain romantic dynamic. I'm not saying like a sex scene. I'm saying like, what is the tone,
Yeah.
between these two people. I'll listen to music then, but when I'm actually writing, I can't do it or I would be just sitting there singing along. So I
Yeah.
have to have total silence, no distractions.
That's interesting. Some people love like a soundtrack almost to their writing, and others really
Cannot
love the
do it.
quiet.
Yeah, that's like my husband.
Yeah.
My husband writes software, and he can sit in front of the TV with the TV just like chattering away, and he's completely focused. Where I can't do that at all.
Wow. Yeah, I don't think I need the quiet too. Absolutely. Um, so Kate S says, do you have any plans to write more standalone novels?
I'm going to assume she means within the Midnight Breed series, and that's a yes.
Mhm.
Like I mentioned before, I'm only able to write novellas right now due to a non-compete clause with my publishers. But I'm going indie as of next year, so my first indie full novel will be the one that I just mentioned with Karis Chase and Rune, and that will come out, I'm thinking, in the summer. And then I have plans for some other things too that are not Midnight Breed, but will be standalone novels as well.
Oh, exciting. Do you have
Yeah.
anything like set in mind, or are you still kind of,
I do, but I can't. I'm just not ready to announce it yet. So probably,
yeah.
sometime in the spring, I'll know a little bit better because I don't really know when it's going to come out. But basically, I'm writing a new trilogy that will come out in
Mhm.
pretty rapid succession together. So, and something totally different that I've
Okay,
never done.
fantastic. Um, Annabelle wants to know, have you read any of the other books in 1001 Dark Night series? What do you think of them?
Yeah, actually, I took it as a really great opportunity to kind of get to know some other writers. So I'd already been reading Shayla Black, Shelley Bradley. She and I have known each other for years, so I'd already been reading her. Through 1001 Dark Nights, I've discovered Lexi Blake, um, Jay Kenner. I'd read some of her things when, as Julie Kenner, but reading her
Mhm.
stuff now through that. And then also Lorelei James, who I had not read before. And once we got to know each other through 1001 Dark Nights, I read her cowboy book. What the heck was it called? Oh, it's the start of her series. I always blank out when I read on the Kindle because I don't see the title and I don't see the author's name and I just forget it. I think it's
Yeah, I know what I mean.
somebody knows in the audience, I'm sure, but it's the first one. It was awesome. And then I've been reading her ever since
Cool.
too. So, and of course, Larissa Ione, I've known for years and we're good friends and I read all of her stuff too. But basically, yeah, it's been a great opportunity to just kind of, get to know other writers and get to know their series, which was the whole point of it. So it worked
Yeah,
for me.
it's an awesome community of writers.
Yeah.
Let's see. May wants to know, what is your favorite book of all time?
Oh, wow. That is
Hmm.
tough. Um, I
I
really
feel like you're
don't
allowed to
know
say
that
top
I
five.
have one. Yeah. Even that would be tough. I
Just say
mean,
one.
yeah, really. I mean, growing up, I remember reading A Wrinkle in Time, and for some reason, that book
Mhm.
just really stuck with me. And yeah, that probably is the what started the whole thing in my head, where I was thinking, I would just really love to create a fictional world of some sort, and just the fantasy element was really interesting to me too. But I grew up reading Stephen King, Anne Rice, Dean Koontz, John
Yeah.
Saul, pretty much dark horror stuff. But A Wrinkle in Time, that definitely was one of the first ones that I remember thinking, oh my God, this is fantastic.
Yeah. We have a couple questions from Cassie that are interesting. She says, if you couldn't write anymore, what occupation would you try your hand at?
Oh my gosh. This is going to sound crazy, and I don't feel this way anymore, but there was a time when I was just completely fascinated with forensic medicine, forensic science, and no more. I mean, I don't like the sight of blood. The idea of dead bodies grosses me out, but for some reason, I think because,
Yeah.
reading true crime and reading all this dark stuff, I was
Mhm.
fascinated with it for a while. But now, if I couldn't be a writer, wow, I guess maybe a blogger. I don't know. I think I would always be writing, I think whatever I was
Yeah.
doing, there would have some element of writing. I just don't think I could turn it off.
Hmm. That's what you are. Absolutely. So Brittany says, where do you draw your inspiration from? Do you find it in shows, movies, just like off the top of your head?
I don't watch a lot of TV and I have a terrible memory. So, I mean, I can watch a movie today and not know what the hell it was about tomorrow. And my husband
Mhm.
laughs at me because he can remember like to the, nth degree of detail. And it's completely gone. I don't even know what I watched the night before. But
Yeah.
as far as inspiration, probably I would say music, really. Like I said before, not so
Yeah.
much when I'm writing, but definitely to just kind of put me in the zone and give me an idea of, what emotion I'm trying to evoke with a certain scene or with characters and the dynamic between them. So I guess, yeah, music would have to be it.
Awesome.
Other than that, you know what?
Cassie
It's
said,
it's sitting in a room and daydreaming.
yeah,
It's a lot of quiet
absolutely.
time.
Yeah. Um, Mina wants to know, do you have a favorite book in your series? Is there one that really stuck with you?
No, like I said, really, I don't. I think probably the most significant one to me would be the first one because that, like I said, is the one that it started this crazy, amazing adventure, and it's just been a dream come true. I mean, I love to write, so being able to do something like this and create this whole world, I mean, it pushed me in ways that I didn't really think I was capable of. Like I said, I had never written connected books before. I had tried it. I wrote, I think, a trilogy that was supposed to be a quartet, and then the project got canceled, and I was only able to write three. So I really didn't know if I had it in me. So I guess that would definitely make Kiss of Midnight, I suppose, my favorite slash most significant book that I've written because of that. It started something so special for me.
Mhm. Mike wants to know, are there any plans to make your series into a television show or a movie, and who would you want to play some of the main roles?
Oh, wow. There are no plans that I know of. Ages ago, when it first got started and Twilight was huge and everybody was grabbing up anything
Yeah.
vampire, my agent got a query from Lifetime Television and we kind of laughed because it was like, have they read my books? I don't think they have. I don't think this is a good fit for Lifetime. And they eventually decided that too because they did an offer. But no, since then, no, not really. And I don't have an agent now, so I'm kind of, free agenting it, I guess. But TV series would be awesome. I love the cable
Yeah.
series, like, Game of Thrones is amazing, and True Blood, the first season and part of the second season were great. So something like that I would probably rather see than a movie, but I wouldn't turn it down. And as far
Right.
as the actors, to me, I feel like they would have to be maybe unknowns because there's nobody. I can't point to any one actor and go, oh, that's Lucan or that's Tegan. It just, they live in my head. I know what they look like. And I don't even really like to post
Exactly.
pictures to readers of what I think they kind of look like because I really want everybody to form their own idea of these characters so that they're real for them the way they're real for me. So it would have to be unknowns. But I have to say also, if I had like a director that I could choose, J.J. Abrams, I would love to have him do it.
Yeah. Sometimes the unknowns are just so much better, just
I
standouts.
think so.
So,
Yeah.
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 So, for the last question, because we've unfortunately run out of time,
Wow.
I just wanted to know what's the best piece of advice you've ever gotten as a writer over the years?
Um, that writers put words on page and don't ever give up. I think, if it's in you, you'll do it no matter if you're successful or if you're not. It's kind of like I said, what would I be if I couldn't be a writer? I'd be secretly writing because it's just the way that
Yeah.
I'm wired. So I think, if you have that in you, go for it and don't let anything stop you. And if people are discouraging you, cut them loose and be around people who will, believe in you and keep your dream going because sometimes that's all you've got. I mean, it's a tough business. It was, probably a lot tougher when everybody was trying to get in with a publisher. Now at least we have the freedom to float a book past readers and say, what do you
Exactly.
think? You know? So
Hmm.
that has definitely changed the whole game. But,
Right.
yeah, best piece of advice really for anything you want to do is don't give up and don't let anybody
Exactly.
stand in your way.
Inspirational words from Lara Adrian. It was great to have you tonight.
Oh, thanks for having me. Thanks
We love
everybody for
chatting with
coming.
you. Yeah. Yeah, thank you guys. It's been a great night, and we just wanted to let everyone know just to stop by BookTrib and enter to win Laura's gift bag of her favorite things. And have a great evening, everyone.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thanks,
Bye,
Laura.
guys. Thanks for coming.
Bye.
Thanks, Amanda.
Thank you.